Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining me today. It's Allan Laboucan with the Rocks and Stocks News Show. I've got my weekend show for you today, and in addition to starting out talking a little bit about what's happening in gold and silver, and then I'll get into some stocks that are on my mind a lot lately. And then at the very end, I got a couple of quick changes to my pick list. I'm dropping a couple, I'm adding a couple. All right. So let's get underway. We'll take a look at the gold chart, and it's looking beautiful. Friday, we had a nice move because President Trump and Xi from China are we're getting a little angry with each other on Friday, throwing tariff tantrums and other embargoes and who knows what else at each other. But seems see things seem to have calmed down a little bit over the weekend. But in reality, that sort of stuff really doesn't make much of a difference to me regarding the price of gold and silver. At the end of the day, what's moving gold from the bottom left to the top right of the chart? And I keep going back to it because when I see people get all in consternation about things, I think it's important to review your fundamentals. And the fundamental reasons to be bullish on gold are that there's a death spiral of debt made worse by unsustainable cost to service that debt. You've got a broken fiat currency and debt system, and now you got stagflation rearing its ugly head. These are all very bullish for gold, have been bullish for gold, and will continue to be bullish for gold. And has anything of that changed on Friday? No. Does it change over the weekend? No. Uh, the politicians on both sides of the fence will continue to spend and create more debt and deficits because they're junkies. Trump's a junkie, Biden's a junkie. They're all junkies for spending and creating debt. And that's why you have a death spiral of debt. And until that stops, which it won't, you're going to have very good reasons to be bullish on gold. Now you've got added on the problem of the cost of servicing that debt. Now the debt has gotten so gargantuan that the cost of servicing that debt. So how do you, again, you're going to cut spending? Well, no, they're going to increase spending. And so the only hope that they have, and why uh, Trump is haranguing and begging and doing everything he can to get Powell to cut interest rates. That's the only way that the cost of servicing the debt will come down somewhat. Now, it's still going to keep growing, even if you get back towards the free market era or the free money era. So you've got those issues, and really a key issue is the broken fiat currency and debt system. Gold is up at records against every fiat currency. And that's because it's a better currency. It's the most stable, it's real money. It doesn't have a bunch of debt being printed behind it or more of its units being printed. It gets mined every year. That's it. That's the new printing. And then anybody who wants to consume it, they clean up the gold, what's mined every year. And so it's unencumbered by stupidity of politicians. And that's what makes gold valuable. Well, that and all the jewelry use. The people of India love it. I love it. People all over the world love to wear gold jewelry, and that's only going to increase as the value of it increases. So, there's it's sound money, beautiful jewelry. Does have some other industrial usages. What really is the good of paper? The paper that they write the debt on and the paper that they write the currency on. where they print it all like it's going out of style. So that's why. And then you got stagflation on top of that, that the Federal Reserve is only going to make worse with cutting interest rates because that sends inflation up, and you've already got a gap between growth and inflation. So you've got stagflation already underway. And the cutting, even if they went back towards the free money era, the issues that are happening with the jobs market due to the tariffs are just getting started because in reality, the tariffs are just getting really started where they're starting to make their way into the economy. And as that's happening, the jobs market is in free fall. And so now the Fed has to go and cut interest rates, which will send the inflation through the roof. So there is a big stagflationary problem coming. And you can even see that gold is sniffing it out because why has this run happen right around the time that the Federal Reserve had their meeting in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, and Chairman Powell started making his case of why they were going to cut interest rates. They did, but the market sniffed out that that's going to be cause a stagflation problem. Here is more confirmation that that is exactly what is being sniffed out. Is silver at the same time blasted off as well? By the way, now silver is trading over $50 an ounce, and it's over the near-term futures price as well. So yeah, I talked about $50 silver. I think what we're going to see happen is it will break right through 50 and then a series of record highs, much like what happened with gold back here when it broke through 2100 in early, it had sort of went sideways for a long period of time. Then it broke through 2100 and set a series of record highs. I think we're at that point now with silver that it is ready to make its series of new record highs above $50. So that's the gold, the silver story for today. Let's get into some stocks. McEwen Mining is a company that I've used sort of as a case study when I talk about the tremendous value propositions that are happening in the metals stocks as we speak. It's just looked at gold and silver, for example, and even copper, they're all about to set record highs, and yet there is still a tremendous amount of value propositions in the market. Even myself, I'm kind of surprised that I have about 35 companies that I currently cover. Now, three of those are major mining companies, four of those are mid-tier mining companies, five of those are junior gold mining companies, 11 of them are developers. Two of them are gold explorers with important high-grade discoveries. And then of the explorers, I have it into three categories. I've got five that are in copper exploration, three that are in silver exploration, and nine that are in gold exploration. So when some people say, "Wow, 35 companies, that's a lot to cover." Well, they're in different categories. Some don't take as much time as others. And I'm trying to build a menu for my audience, and my audience buys majors, they buy mid tiers, they buy juniors, they buy developers, they divide explorers, and even in the explorers, some of them want silver exploration or gold exploration or copper exploration. So I try to give a targeted group of companies to select from. But having said all that, it still shocks me that with the metals prices where they are, that there is still so much value so many tremendous value propositions that they haven't even caught up. There's still being a lot of these metal stocks are still being priced as if the metals were like a third lower than where they are currently. They haven't even priced in current, or let alone future prices where I see them going. So, yeah, I see a lot of tremendous value propositions. Now, McEwen Mining, or McEwen Inc., sorry, they recently changed from McEwen Mining to McEwen Inc., so it's still stuck in my head, McEwen Mining, but it is McEwen Inc. Now, I first started covering this through interviews with Rob McEwen back in the third quarter of 2022. At that time, memory serves me right, the stock was trading at about three and a half, $4. And what had and why this was such an exciting proposition to me was I thought that the market was not giving them any credit for their copper project in Argentina. But I looked at it and I looked at the size of the project. It's in the top 10 of undeveloped copper projects. I looked at the cost and it was in the lowest cost quartile. And I looked at the supply and demand arguments for copper, and I said, well, you take all these things into consideration, and this is a valuable asset. And it got better for the stock in around this time from that low until into this sideways action. They got investments from Stellantis and Rio Tinto's Newton venture, and that sort of changed the attitude towards the company. So it had a good rally, then it based, had a good rally, then it came down and based again, and lately it's been off to the races. So why is it off to the races? Well, some very important things happened that I think, or the anticipation of, have made people get more excited about the value proposition that is offered by McEwen Inc., sorry. And I feel somewhat vindicated and happy about all this because I'm always happy as a shareholder when people recognize value, even if it takes them a while to do that. But the three events that have recently all transpired and are going to mean even more impressive news down the road. One was the International Finance Corporation, and which is part of the World Bank, and McEwen Mining are working collaboratively. And part of the reason for that is to make sure the project meets all the criteria and for the World Bank and the IFC, and then that way they'll be ready to get financing through those avenues. And so that's important. Another really important is the RIGI program. They were accepted to that in Argentina. That is a big deal because it's Argentina's President Milei. He wants more investment into the country, and this RIGI program is a way to get that investment into the country, because it takes away a lot or most of the impediments that would keep big money like billions of dollars to build copper mines from coming into the country. So the fact that McEwen Inc. has been accepted to that program, that was another important milestone. And then this week they also had out their feasibility study that shows that they're going to be producing copper at about $2.11 per pound, and a lot of it every year. And that at today's prices, that's about $3 a pound worth of free cash flow off of that, which, when you're looking at about 400 million pounds of annual copper production, that's a lot of free cash flow, especially from a company that you currently have a valuation that would be is less than the first year's worth of free cash flow. I get excited about those kind of opportunities, and I think more are as well. Another milestone that they're working on is to take McEwen Copper public because right now the copper project is held within McEwen Copper, which is a private company, and they want to take that public, and that will help the price discovery for the McEwen Copper's Los Azules asset, but will also help investors analyze the opportunity in McEwen Inc. because McEwen Inc. owns 46% of McEwen Copper, plus they own a royalty on it. Then Rob McEwen owns about 13%. Don't quote me on these. I don't have them all memorized. Newton Ventures, which is part of Rio Tinto, they own about 15 or 16%. And then Stellantis, the big car maker that, by the way, makes a lot of cars in Argentina and is going to need that copper. They also own a big chunk. So those four collectively own about 94 or 95% of the company. So when it goes public, the share structure is going to be super tight, and I think there's going to be a lot of demand for it as generalist investors in the United States want to have exposure to copper development projects or copper mining companies, and they don't have a lot to choose from. And so, if they get bullish, which I think they will, I think that McEwen Copper will be a very strong performer. And so, yeah, lots of great things happening for McEwen Inc. And that's why the stock has had a golden cross, has broken out substantially above the 50-day moving average. Now the 50-day moving average is going into a very bullish upswing at a good trajectory. And now the 200-day is joining that party to go parallel with it. So lots of good things happening with McEwen Inc. Now, that was sort of, I went back to when I picked them as a turnaround story because my current turnaround story is Arizona Metals. And as you can see, I just started picking them after they started getting punished. And why did they get punished? Well, they got punished because they put out a resource estimate that obviously the market didn't like. And knowing what I know about resource estimates, I always remind people that not all resource estimates are created equal. Sometimes you can have these really arm wavy, lots of inferred, big gaps between your drilling, and they will never stand up to economic evaluation through preliminary economic assessments and things like that. They're more, try to get the investors out there all worked up, but they're not really telling you what's there that can pass through an economic assessment. So when that news release went out, stock got hammered. I was watching it. I had, seen that there was a lot of optimism built up into what that resource would come out with. When it didn't, the stock got hammered. But I looked at it in the context of, okay, they went with a fairly conservative resource estimate because they wanted to do a preliminary economic assessment on the project. And so this got me excited about the turnaround prospect. Now, when a company goes through a turnaround, the first thing they have to do is they have to stop going down in price. Okay. So as you can see, the news went out, got hammered, people stayed disgruntled until it got all the way down to about 55 cents. And now they're starting to realize, hey, maybe we should take another look at that resource. And when is that preliminary economic assessment coming out? So it's now broken above the 50-day moving average. And this is the kind of thing that you see in a turnaround story. And so I like that prospect. And I think that we're on to a better trend for the stock as a turnaround play. Now, I will let you know that I've been in contact with the management of this company, and what I'm asked them if we could do is if I could do a phone call so that I can get myself sharpened up, my pencil on the company, and then we'll do an interview. So I'm meeting with them this upcoming week, and I'll keep you up to date on when that will be out, but probably within 10 days or something like that. So yeah, looks good. Looks like the selling pressure is finally over, and that the it has stopped going down, which is the most important point of a turnaround, and starting to improve in value in the price. Value is what you get, price is what you pay. Okay, so now I'm going to move over to another company that has been on my mind a lot lately, and you've seen it in some of my shows, which is Sokoman Minerals. So, as you can see, stock has moved up of late very aggressively. And what might you ask caused that? Well, Denny Laviolette chose to be the CEO of this company. He is a very talented geologist who basically could have hung his hat in many companies, and yet he took the decided he wanted to take over Sokoman Minerals and be the new CEO. That caused a lot of volume in the stock and a very nice upward swing. And then that enabled them to, they acquired a big chunk of land on this highly prospective part of Newfoundland. And then they announced that they've got a bought deal financing for $24 million. So it's getting a lot of attention of late, and rightfully so. There's two images that I want to share with you that are really on my mind a lot lately. One of them is, and I share this almost every time I talk about this company because about a year and a half ago I wrote a report and I said that I think that Newfoundland could be the Abitibi 2.0. And I didn't even know this paper existed, but some scientists were out there making the same case. And what they did is in this paper, they give you an image on the same scale, but they adjust the Abitibi region and its faults to be parallel to Newfoundland. But as you can see in the Abitibi, there is two really important faults here. One is the Dester Porcupine, and the other is the Cadillac Larder, and along there are all the mines, okay, and gold showings and whatnot. Now, you could easily put that over to here and the two important ones are the Valentine Lake Shear Zone. That's the Valentine Lake Fault. These crustal faults are really important. They are the cracks that the gold-bearing fluids use to make their way up to surface. And as you can see, look at all the mines along the along those two key faults in the Abitibi. Well, you could fit those over here. And then over here, you've got the other, which is the one that Newfound Gold is working on. And look at all the gold occurrences there. So I think that one day you're going to see all this mining happening over here in Newfoundland. Everything is the same. You got the right age of rocks. You got these big cracks in the earth that the metals bearing fluids can make their way up towards the surface. And then you've got the deposits there. One mine is that's being the first mine that sort of fits into this category is the Valentine Lake, although the Buckens was also a pretty big mine, but I'm talking more about the orogenic type systems. And so Valentine Lake is down here, the Valentine Lake mine that Equinox is developing, and then up here is where Sokoman is, and over here is where Newfound Gold is. Okay, so why do I keep on harping on this map? And because of this map. So as you can see, this black line here is that Valentine Lake Fault. Okay. And you can see all the all the red is what um, Sokoman now controls the ground right along that key fault. And down here is where you see the mine, and they also control a fair chunk of that fault. But Sokoman controls more of it now. So what I foresee happening here, and I know this is very arm wavy, but I usually do my arm waving with the sense of some reality. One day I think that like this is all juiced up with mines here. I think that that's going to happen along this Valentine Lake Fault, and it's almost like you're going back 100 years and you could acquire a big chunk of the Abitibi's key fault. That would be a very attractive opportunity because if you kept that for all these years, you'd have some world-class mines along there that are, 10, 20 million ounces worth of production. And I think what you're going to see is one day there will be little yellow gold stars all along this fault. And the guys you got the guys have the talent with Denny Laviolette and the rest of his team to make that to move forward in that plan to make Sokoman the next great Newfoundland gold exploration company, and I think that's exactly what they're going to do. They've made a big land grab here to enhance the Moosehead project, which was up here. Now they got a big corridor, and yeah, it's on my mind a lot lately. Let's have a look at the stock. It's on other people's mind a lot lately as well. As you can see, it's been trading some pretty big volume. Stock is cleaning up. Went through a golden cross, super high trajectory to that 50-day moving average, which is very, very bullish. So I think it's more onwards and upwards from here with a good news that I think they'll have a lot of good news to talk about in the not too distant future. So take a look at Sokoman. I'm a pretty big shareholder of it, and I really like what I see. Another company that's been getting my attention a lot lately is Sterling Metals. I picked them after their news, and when they had come off a little bit, and because this company only has about 40 million shares out, and although it's moved up to, let's say, the close on Friday at $2, that's still less than well under $100 million valuation. And when you consider the thick intersections of very high grade copper, and they also have high grade gold in the system, I might add, the that valuation is very, very inexpensive for that kind of a discovery. And so, as you can see, it had a really big breakout from about 95, 90-ish cents, and it traded over, well, almost right to $3 a share. And I often say to people that when I see a correction or when I see pullbacks, I think you can learn a lot almost as much from the pullback as you can from the rally. So in this case, as everybody could see, the rally was very dramatic. But you look back at this period prior to the rally, and a lot of people bought in here. So they were sitting on very, like five, six times their money. So after a five, six time your money run, you want to see how eager they are to sell and take profit. And that tells you learn that by watching the pullback. So when I see after such a big run, when I see such a mild pullback, I get really bullish because, that tells you that the people that could have took profits only wanted to give up a little of their profits, and the new people that came in, the even though they might have paid nearly $3, when it came back down to $1.60, they didn't panic. In fact, some of them probably bought more. And I know I bought when it got under $2, and I think I bought at about $1.90 or something like that, $1.85. Sure, I would have liked to have bought cheaper, but I can't buy based on the past. I can't buy August price. They don't sell it to me for that, unfortunately. I got to buy and look at what's happening today and where I think that's going. So when the news came out, I looked really closely at it. I looked at their technical report. I looked at their news release. I did an interview with their with Matt Wilson, their CEO, and shortly after that, I happen to have a very good grapevine, might I say, and my mentor in geochemistry has retired from the business and he retired to his family farm in Batchewana Bay, Ontario. So he is a brilliant guy and knows this area very well. So I got a couple of really good pieces of information from talking to him. How do I say it? He's got a lot of friends in the business like me. He's mentored many geologists and mining executives over the years. And apparently, I wasn't the only one calling him. A bunch of our friends and people inside the business were calling him to talk about the project. So he was happy that happened because he always likes talking to people like me that he mentored in the business. And I won't name the names. That's for them to talk about if they so choose. But the other thing that I really learned from that conversation is he believes that there is a very powerful and large plumbing system or source to where all of this gold, this copper and gold came from. And you could actually see evidence of that in the past mining. There was mining on their Tribag and some on the breccias, and they're quite well spread out across this project. And so there's wide distribution of copper mineralization, and that's one indicator. Then they've done a lot of surface sampling. That's another indicator. And now they're drilling into some spectacular looking stuff. And yeah, I think that this is a great story in the making, yet it still has a sub $100 million valuation. So, like I said, you can't buy based on the August price. And to tell you the truth, it was much more risky when it was trading much cheaper than it is now because now they've hit some spectacular results. They got a spectacular discovery hole, if you will, for the company. And I think they've got a lot of growth ahead of them. So That's why Sterling Metals is on my mind a lot lately. Another one on my mind a lot lately is KLDC, uh, Kirkland Lake Discoveries. Um, they also have a very exciting project. I did an interview with their management not too long ago, and I invite you to go check that out because there was a lot of really great information that we talked about. Basically, they've got this huge, like almost like an egg-shaped intrusive body. So this magma pushes up, and then all around the edge of it, they've got geophysical anomalies. There's been past mineralization found around the edge of it, and now they've drilled into it, and they've got drill holes pending, but they've also got a financing that they need to close. And I think that they'll have that closed in the next week or so, maybe 10 days. And then they can start putting out the assay results, get back to drilling because they're raising, I think it's well over $10 million dollars or something like that. So, yeah, this is a big target area, and 17 kilometers around this egg-shaped intrusive body, and lots of great geophysical, geochemical, and drill hole information. And I think they've got a very exciting project on their hands. And I'm looking forward to those assay results and more drilling from the company. But then again, you look at the valuation of this company, and it's a very modest valuation. And relative to what they're looking for and what they have quite possibly already may have in the drill holes. Um, and so yeah, collectively, I really like all the pending. I love the target that they have because it's huge. And it looks like they've got an overlap of the geological indicators. So it's not just geophysics, it's also geochemistry, it's also drill hole data, geological data. All of this is coming together. And when you've got that overlapping of data, that's exactly what you want. You don't want sort of a geophysical anomaly sitting on its own. You go wildcat drill that, and usually turns out to be a dud. But when you got the geochemical analysis, the surface sampling that sits right over top of geophysical anomalies, then you look at the geological structure and that lines up, then the past drilling and your drilling, and all of these things are lining up together. So, yeah, Kirkland Lake Discoveries is another company I own shares in, and I like their story a lot. Okay, Amex Exploration. Amex. Amex is a company that is a sponsor of my work. I'm very thankful for that, partially because it helps me to do the work that I do, not just that I can create content about Amex, but really my sponsors help me provide all of my reports for free to my audience. I wouldn't be able to do that unless I had a few sponsors. And what really makes me happy is that they've got such a great story to go along with being a sponsor. And as far as a great project goes, um, they have a phenomenal one in Quebec called Perron. It's got an NI 43101 resource on it for, I think it's about five or six different deposits, all within a close radius of each other. A particular excitement is the Champagne zone, which is one of those. And it makes up about 800 and some thousand ounces in the measured and indicated category with an average grade of 16.2 grams per ton of gold. That's off the charts these days, folks. You just don't find those anymore. And then it's also got a couple or about 150,000 ounces in the inferred that needs more drilling to bring it up into the measured and indicated, but that has about 10 grams. So you're looking at a very rich, very high grade zone there called the Champagne Zone. And what's really got the excitement since about, well, earlier this year in April-ish, was when they started talking about the path to production, how they were going to bring it into production. And it's sort of a phased approach. The first phase is to do a bulk sample on the Champagne zone, take the material out of there and ship it over to a nearby mill and have the gold recovered from that nearby mill. And then they can get all the statistics from that. But what's also interesting is the permit that they're applying for will be, it won't just be a small, it will be a mine-sized portal and then a ramp that you could use in a mining operation. So they're like, it's almost like pre-construction of a mine. Okay. So, and that's just to get down to where you would take a bulk sample. When they get the permits to mine it, you would just keep going. So that's one step. Another step is to, in which they're doing an economic evaluation of now, is a toll milling of that, bringing that Champagne zone into production through a toll milling situation. And what that means is there's a lot of mills in Quebec, that in this Abitibi region of the Abitibi, that are underutilized, and so they could blend their material into that those mills, and there's a lot of good things that happen in mills like that when they can blend very high grade. They can bring in some of their lower grade. It's a little bit complex. Don't really want to get into it, but it is advantageous for these mills to, one, help bring them up to full capacity, but secondly, being able to blend in the very high grade of the Champagne zone. So the idea that with that is that they would start with a few years of toll milling, sorry, and then use the profits from that to then build their own mill at the Perron project, and then they would use that to keep mining on the Champagne zone and the other zones, and so yeah, it's a staged approach, and it's got a lot of people's attention because some of these things would not be possible if the project was out in the middle of nowhere and it didn't have the grade it does. But it is in the heart of a mining district. It has exceptionally high grade, which gives them options. And they've been talking about those options, and obviously more people are paying attention, and makes me happy for the company. And yeah, do your homework on Amex Exploration. I recently did an interview with their CEO, Victor Cantori, and we talked about a lot of good things. So check that out on my YouTube channel at Rocks and Stocks News, or you can also find it on my Substack at rocksandstocks.substack.com. All right, another company that is getting a lot of my attention lately is Sierra Madre Gold and Silver. And why it's getting my attention is because they are a junior miner, okay? And the way that companies used to, or still do, grow into much bigger companies is they start by being juniors, okay? And then they grow their production and keep growing it and keep doing the right things to keep bringing down their cost, increasing their production. And I've talked a lot about in the past about how the 2001 to 2011 gold bull market really caused a lot of takeovers and mergers to happen, which really gutted the mid-tier miners and even the larger junior miners. And so when that happened, it created a opportunity for smaller companies that could go in and look at projects that weren't big enough to move the needle for these now gargantuan majors, and use that as their growth platform, which is what Sierra Madre, and I got another one I'm going to talk about later, is doing in Mexico. And they've had some really good results out recently. The stock's moving quite nicely. You know, it's like gold, it's broken significantly above the 50-day moving average. You know, this is why you look at gold stocks over gold itself, or silver for that matter. You know, since the breakout of gold, silver, and the precious metal stocks, these guys were trading at about 75 cents, and now they're trading at $1.48. So almost 100% gain. Uh, that significantly is outperforming gold, silver, and that's why you look for high quality, uh, in this case, a junior miner of precious metals. Uh, and That's the kind of performance you can get, the torque, if you will. And if you pick good ones, like I hope I help you to do, you can outperform gold and silver. And Sierra Madre is doing that. They've had a lot of good news out, and I think they're going to continue to do that. All right. And Heliostar, same thing. Junior producer, um, HSTR.V. Hold on a second. And Heliostar is been on a really nice performance. As you can see, Golden Cross back in April of 2024, and just on a beautiful long-term bullish trend. Lately, they've been breaking out. They've also had a significant breakout right around the time that silver and gold broke out. Again, here's the torque, folks. $1.20 to well, let's say $2. Actually touched over $2. So that significantly outperforms gold and silver. That's what you're looking for, folks, is these high quality stories that can outperform the metals. There's no sense I mean, if companies can't outperform the metals, just buy the metals. That's why you're looking for that torque in these kind of companies, and you want to be rewarded for it. And Heliostar and Sierra Madre are those kind of companies. Okay. Sorry, just got to keep track of where I am and who I've talked about. Okay. I'm going to drop that one for today. Next up is NMC. Now, NMC is a brand new company that hasn't been trading for very long, called Nuvau Minerals. They just started trading in December 2024. They made a very high grade discovery of gold in a project that had only been really a huge project, actually, that had only really been looked at for base metals because it was a base metal mine for around 60 years. And the last owner of it was Glencore until 2022. And that's when Nuvau took over the project. But it had never, even though it's, 1,300 square kilometers in the Abitibi, which is one of the greatest gold camps in the world, it had never really been looked at for its gold potential. These guys made an initial discovery that looks like it's in the very earliest days, like only like 3 or 4 holes have been drilled into it. But what caught my attention was the fact that it had visible gold, and not just one tiny speck. It was quite a significant amount. And so, having a new vein uh, found with a significant amount of visible gold in the Abitibi gets my attention all day long, and it gets the attention of a lot of people that are bullish on gold. And uh, and so it's it had a good run, ran from like 40 cents to almost $1, and then since then it's basically been trading sideways. Now, this company has more holes in the lab. They also are doing work to bring the base metal mine back into production. So they got lots of catalysts ahead of them. And I always get excited when I see basing periods. It's how I predict and have made a lot of good predictions on the price of gold and silver and others. You learn a lot from the rallies, but you also learn a lot from the pullbacks and the basing periods. And so I really like what I see in this basing period. They're kind of boring for investors, but I get really excited about them, especially when the range gets really, really tight. It gets tight as far as the range, and this tells me that okay, it's time for either to move up or move down. And then I look at what happened prior to the inflection point, and I look at what are the catalysts, and I think that the next move will be to the upside. So although I own some stock, I think I'm going to own more of this one really soon. Okay. Coming down the home stretch. I haven't been at this for more than an hour yet, I don't think. Uh, yeah, I think I got about another 5, 10 minutes in me. All right, so Goliath. Goliath is my highest conviction um, gold explorer with an important discovery pick. And it has had a good run back here when they had some spectacular results out. Then they came back as they were getting through the winter months and get ready to start drilling again. Then, as they got closer to the drill season, the stock started firming up and trading above the 50-day moving average. Had a little dip below it in the summer months as they were waiting assay results. Had a nice breakout since then. And yeah, they've got I think 88 holes or something like that with pending assay results. So they're going to have assay results coming out for the rest of the year and probably into 2026, the first quarter as well. So stay tuned for more good results out of this company. They've got an exceptionally great project in the Sherbet discovery. I've made my case in past reports of why I think that that's the most important new high-grade gold discovery in the Golden Triangle, possibly since well, at least since the Brucejack discovery, which I know a lot about because that was a pick of mine early in their success, and I kept reporting on it right through to their bringing it into production and then being sold for around $19 a share. So I know a lot about, I followed that Brucejack project very closely. I think this is equally as good as that, but it could be even better. And maybe even rival the great Eskay Creek mine that was found in the 1980s. So yeah, stay tuned for more assay results. I would also let you know that the company currently has a private placement that they're closing, and Roger Rosmus, their CEO, has been buying up some stock lately. So all good signs for Goliath Resources. Okay, now I wanted to talk about Borealis Mining. They are a sponsor of my shows and I'm a shareholder. They had gone through a Golden Cross here and have been performing very nicely of late. And what that's related to is that they're starting to transition into being a junior gold miner in Nevada. Uh, that's unique in itself because there's not very many. Well, I can't think of any others. Maybe there's some, but that are new junior gold miners starting to mine in Nevada. And that's a very exciting prospect for me. I know that has been the engine of what has helped grow some of the great gold mining companies that got their start. Even Barrick Gold was started with being a junior gold miner in Nevada. So it's a fantastic place, and they got a great project to do that with, Borealis. And they're starting that process. The first step was they had a stockpile of material that was mined back in the day when gold was a lot cheaper that never got put onto the the heap leach, and so they've done that. They're doing that now, bringing all the stockpile onto the heap leach to extract some gold. They've already announced that they've done that, and then they're working on bringing the old pits and start producing, bringing material to be on the heap leach on those as well. And then they're doing exploration on the Borealis mining project, and it's wide open for exploration. And then they've got the other project. They acquired another company that had two other projects not far away that have synergies that they could bring the material from them over to the Borealis mine. And so, yeah, they're building up the assets to become a larger junior gold miner in Nevada, and that is a very exciting prospect. And I think a lot of people are starting to take another look at an undiscovered gem that Borealis mining is, and I think you should as well. All right, Vizsla Silver, one of my favorite ever in my career. One of my favorite um, high grade silver and gold developers that is got a phenomenal project. Why is this not cooperating with me? Hold on a second here. Okay, Vizsla Silver has, I would argue, the best high grade precious metal project in development anywhere in the world. Now, of course, everyone's going to say, or some are going to say, well, Allan, they're a sponsor of your shows. Of course, you're going to say that. Well, um, do your own homework and see what you come up with. Look at their preliminary economic assessment, look at the capital cost, which is at about 225. Look at the internal rate of return, which using the base case is at about 85% IRR. That makes it unique in the development world of precious metals projects right now. Then you look at the current price of copper or gold and silver, and the IRR goes up to about 100 and some percent IRR, making it even more phenomenal. Then you look at the fact that the company has about two times the capex of building the mine in the cash in their bank. And this is why they are have such exceptional performance in the market, is because this is really a world-class project that will turn Vizsla Silver into the next great, well, major silver miner. And you just don't come along, these kind of projects don't come along very often, folks. And when you see one, you want to pay attention to it, which is why I do. I've had some great interviews with their CEO and their VP Exploration. And one thing that really stood out to me when I talked to their VP exploration, and that interview's on my YouTube channel at Rocks and Stocks News on YouTube. What stood out to me was the exploration potential of Vizsla's Panuco project. They really only explored a few of the veins that are going into driving those economics that I already mentioned. And it's important to note that in these epithermal vein systems, there can be hundreds of veins. And, you never know how many of them will become mines. For example, in Fresnillo, Mexico, which is not very far from where I live, they've been mining those epithermal veins since the 1500s. And those are a cluster right in the city of Fresnillo. And then not far from the city of Fresnillo is a series called Saucito. And then right beside that is another great set of veins, which is what Mag Silver had and now is being bought out by Pan American Silver. And that whole radius is like maybe 4,000 or 5,000 meters. And you've got like all of these mines, not just veins, mines. And so, you could fit that easily, a couple of those or more inside of the Panuco project. So it's got wide open potential. But the one that really stood out to me, and I think you're going to start hearing a lot more about this new discovery called Animus. The Animus vein is to the east of the main veins that they're working on right now. Uh, and they've just started to drill it. Stay tuned for that. Keep your ears open for more news on Animus because I think that this could be a second area on their property, like how I had explained with Fresnillo, the city had mining on it. Right beside the city was the Saucito series, and this is important, folks, because these series of mines in and around Fresnillo is what has made Fresnillo PLC one of, well, the largest silver mining company in the world and also its lowest cost producer. And the Panuco is not that far from Fresnillo, about an hour and a half or 2 hours a drive down the highway towards Mazatlan. I've actually driven by all this stuff, so I know it pretty good. So there you go. That's the Vizsla silver story. I think they're going to have a lot of news out in the not too distant future. So do your homework on Vizsla silver. Okay, now I'm going to wrap things up by letting you know that I've decided, oh my gosh, gold's up another 71 bucks. Just to talk, maybe I should keep talking. It went up about another $30 an ounce while I was talking. Let's take a look at silver. Ah, that's about 50 cents higher too. I'll have to keep talking maybe. Go into a marathon session. Um, Before I close, I wanted to let you know that I have so Sokoman and Sterling are my new additions to my picks, and I am dropping Rakla Metals off of my current list of picks and Ramp Metals off my current list of picks. These were sort of swing for the fences picks, folks, and sometimes when you pick swing for the fences plays, they can turn out to be out of the park home runs or they can be dusters. And that's the game of doing the exploration. Sometimes you're going to hit a home run and sometimes you're not. And when you don't, you got to recognize it and move on. So I still think there's potential in those two projects. And so it's not like I stop following them. And if I see news out of them that's important, I'll talk about it on my shows and maybe I'll quickly bring them back. But for now, I gotta keep things a little more tidy because I got a lot of companies to cover and I want to rationalize my list and and make it more, well, I didn't make it less work because I'm taking out two and I'm bringing two new ones in. But so yeah, Rackla metals and Ramp metals are out of the pick list and now just on the radar screen. And Sterling Metals and Sokoman are on the list. So there you go. As always, do your homework, speak with your financial advisors. This show is for information purposes only. I'm not making buying or selling recommendations. I'm merely a idea generator. It's really important for you to do your homework to understand these companies I talk about. If they resonate with you, that doesn't mean, you should run out and buy them. It means you should do your homework on them. I try to help in that process, but I'm only a helper. You got to do that homework yourself. So do that and have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon.